Hey, everybody! Welcome to Tuesday night. We're having a good time. I got Dre hanging out in the wings. Hey, Dre, what's cracking, girl?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. Going great. We got Aaron hanging out with us too tonight. Aaron, how are you? And welcome Tuesday night. And we have a wonderful guest. Janelle has joined us tonight. She's agreed to join us straight from Lincoln, Nebraska, coming out to join us tonight.
Hey, Janelle.
Welcome to Drunk and Disorderly. I called it the Holiday Hangover Show because, well, I'm still hungover from the holiday show. I don't know about you guys. But
dude, you were so drunk. We had so much fun.
Yeah.
That was so much fun.
Yeah. When I found the empty flask the next day, I knew shit had gotten real. I don't remember. I don't know how I got home last Tuesday, but that's how drunk I was.
Have you gone back and watched the show from last
No,
week?
I haven't. Janelle, just for the record, I'm at home, and I was at home, so I don't remember. Like, I don't know how I got to bed. I don't know. My wife says I cussed in front of the kids
downstairs to upstairs.
Yeah, my wife said I cussed in front of the kids quite a bit.
You did.
Yeah, so that's all right.
Right. One of the kids came on a little bit at the end. Hey, Ken. Hey, Carl. Yeah, oh, God. Yeah, he was in rare form. It was hilarious. He's on vacation because he's a teacher, so he's taking full advantage. I don't blame him.
Yeah.
Go back and watch it, man, because if we were kind, we could have been really not kind. Like, Dre, I was drinking. You were drinking, right? We were both smoking. So we weren't feeling any pain. But you were putting us to shame, Scott.
I was the drunk guy at the party.
You had all sorts of rolls and tangents. Like, you couldn't. Wow. It was great, though.
Yeah,
I love drunk Scott. I mean, I love Scott anyway, but drunk Scott has a special place in my heart.
I'll try not to do that to you tonight, though.
No, do it. We like it.
What's your
so
poison?
I drink these. Aaron hates them, but I'm drinking these Coors Banquets.
The banquets.
The banquets.
Cool.
And then last week I had the flask cracking. So doing shots of rum while we were partying too. So
yeah, he was like, "You guys do a shot with me. Let's do shots." And we're like, "Dude, no shots for us tonight."
No, dude, it's 10 o'clock. We got to get off of here is what you guys were like, right? I don't remember. I interviewed some dude. Like, I remember the feed ended with some dude that I didn't even know who he was at the bar. Some random. Yeah, I don't know. Some musician that was hanging out at the bar. I don't know.
Oh,
yeah.
He was with Kent. That's how he got.
Yep.
That was a Lincoln person. This wasn't, I don't know if you know Janelle, Kent Malasaki. He is a local comedian, photographer in Lincoln. He's a jack of all trades. I bet he does 5 other things too. But we had him on, and he was at the bar at an open mic, and he had some musician come on. That's why none of us can remember who the hell the guy was, because we didn't know him. We met him that night.
Oh my God!
I mean, he seemed cool as shit.
Yeah, he was a nice guy. He was patient with me, so there's that.
Where's that?
I mean, it was a holiday special.
I feel like I have a lot to live up to here.
Oh, here we go.
Easy show. It's easy. What we got?
That dude was Jonathan David Leach, and he's an amazing musician. So shout out to Jonathan David Leach. So
hey, Ken, let him know we gave him some word fame. Tell him to tune in.
Tell him to tune in, buddy. Tell him to get on it. Ken's heading down to the Storm Cellar tonight, doing a comedy open mic. So I don't know, Janelle. Do you get out to do you get into stand-up comedy at all? Do you watch any of that stuff? Yeah.
I've gone to a few shows here recently at Roomology.
Nice.
Here in Lincoln, and actually, I've not really told a lot of people this, but I'm working on a stand-up piece for myself to do.
I love
Fun, awesome.
Yeah,
Cool.
I love it.
you know, we'll find
I
out
love
if
it.
I'm
So
actually funny.
that Remology is a cool little club, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's a perfect little spot for
Yeah.
doing the comedy stuff. So I hope that, you know, they'll survive this COVID stuff, and because I know it's been hard. It's been really hard.
Oh yeah, I mean, we dealt with that on our holiday special, right? With the one place in Lincoln where people can do open mic is under, you know, it's probably going to close.
Yeah,
Well, there's plenty of places in Omaha. We have been putting, like, we have a sister company, Comedy and Chaos, where Scott and Caleb put on a lot of shows, and I kind of help out with that in the background. So if you ever want to come to Omaha and be part of that, you're welcome.
Yeah, we're doing a comedy show Saturday, January 2nd up here at Wired Pub. So we call it round
I'm
2.
looking for anything to do and any reason to get out of Lincoln, communist Lincoln right now.
Yeah. So, and I'm going to tell you, you should bring a mask, but and masks are required. I have to tell you those things.
You have to actually wear it.
But here's the deal: when you're at a bar and you're in the process of drinking or obtaining a drink, or in the process of, the only time you're supposed to wear it is when you're going to the bathroom. But it's okay if you forget. I've noticed. But so yeah, January 2nd, you should come up. We have a good lineup, a strong lineup for a comedy show. We're back by popular demand. The bar was like, you should do another show here, and I was like, yeah, all right. And the last one was pretty exciting, so there was some fists thrown at the last one, some fists of fury, and
some, he says, just some.
Yeah, I don't know. It was an interesting. So you should come up for round 2.
I'll do it.
January 2nd up here. That's Saturday night. Hopefully the weather permitting. Janelle, you do. I noticed you do some work with the Lady Luck. Is that something? Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Lady Luck Lounge. It's a lounge that I run with a business partner of mine, and it's basically kind of looks like an underground casino from the 1950s, underground speakeasy feel. So the entrance is through an alley, and you have to have the secret password to get in. Fun. And all our drinks are over the top. We use, the best liquor in every drink. So, I mean, you're gonna spend a little bit more on our drinks, but trust me, they pack a punch. So you're good.
And I bet they're extra tasty.
They're awesome. And I mean, I did the menu, so I kind of a little biased, but we get a lot of great feedback on our cocktails. And I mean, it's been good, but obviously the year of COVID has not been kind to us. We opened in fall of 2019, so we were just kind of getting a fall, and then COVID hit, and we went from a staff of 23 down to 5 now.
Oh my God. So what are the rules now for Lincoln? I assume that you're open. Do you have to serve food? Does it have to be a certain amount of food? Like, what's going on in Commie Lincoln?
So it keeps going back and forth all over the place. So originally, like, all restaurants and bars had to close to go. But again, like, our establishment, the way we serve our drinks, it's not set up to serve to-go drinks. There's no way we can do that profitably and, be able to give somebody a product they'd be with. So then we were able to reopen like mid-July, and then we got shut down again like second week in November. And again, it was if you're a bar, you can do to-go drinks. Well, we can't do that, so we're closed. And then they came out and said that we could reopen if you didn't serve food, but now the curfew is 11 p.m. So like, our bar doesn't open till 4, and we have to close at 11 now. And we used to be open 7 days a week, but because we're downtown, it's just dead. We don't have, all the workers that were in the offices down there, they're all working remote still. So we don't have the happy hour crowd. We don't have the business travelers in the hotels. We don't have the concerts, Husker football, all those things that, that was our main customer base. And that's all not there right now. So we are now just open Fridays and Saturdays, basically because economically it's the only way that we can have it make sense. Even Fridays and Saturdays, we're doing numbers like we would have done pre-COVID on like a Monday or Tuesday night. So it's really bad. It's really bad. And
I hate to hear that. It sounds like they're just cutting businesses off at the knees and saying, try and walk. Good luck.
Yeah. Yeah. And people are like, well, as a business owner, you need to learn how to adapt and pivot and that's true as a business owner, right? There's different things that happen and you have to learn how to adapt and change to
regulars.
Right. In a regular economy, right, where, it's tough enough to run a bar or restaurant, but when you have the government essentially, shutting you down, that's a whole, how do you change and pivot? It's one thing if it's just the natural capitalist economy you're having to change to, but when the government is the one doing it to you, it's kind of hard to.
Well, especially when the government is basing these decisions on God knows what this week, right? A lot of this has been anecdotal. Like right now, what you'll hear from so many people is about Cytokine Storm, right? Cytokine Storm is a real response that your body has. It's an actual thing that happens. Doctors and researchers at St. Jude's have been fighting and dealing with Cytokine Storm for, 30 years. They're pretty good at dealing with it. And initially, there was a belief that all COVID patients, right, everybody who is suffering from COVID was going into Cytokine Storm, so they started treating everybody that way. And it turns out that wasn't super beneficial because in reality, about 5% of the people who contract COVID actually develop Cytokine Storm. So in them, yes, this is a great thing. In people where it's not, where they haven't developed storm, what it is it's an over exaggerated immune response, right? So you get your body floods white cells and immune responsive agents in to fight a virus, right? We all know this. In Cytokine Storm, it overdoes that and causes other bad potential problems and some long-term problems, right? Long-term kidney problems, heart problems, lung problems, things like that. That only occurs in about 5% of COVID patients. So the treatment for that is to suppress the immune system a little bit, to back it off and find that happy medium, that balance. And there are a lot of different methods to do that. Different hospitals have different plans that they like to use. But if you do that in somebody who isn't going to go into Cytokine Storm, and you just never know, now they're going to get sicker from COVID, right? The reality is the government didn't know. The CDC didn't know. The National Institutes on Health didn't know. And nobody in a position of authority, it seems like, feels comfortable saying, we don't know.
Mm-hmm. What do you have in Omaha? We have the COVID dial here in Lincoln. We have yellow, orange, red, and there's no actual formula for determining how we're going to be in the yellow or the orange or the red. It's basically whatever the mayor feels like. Oh, cases have gone up a such and such percent, so we're going to go into red. There's no exact science to it.
So
and that's
I think, in the beginning, our mayor was calling shots and she was getting too much grief for it. So she just turned it over to this doctor named Adi Pur, or whatever her name is. And she decides what happens for Omaha and Douglas County. And I think that we have that color odometer thing, but I don't know where it is. I don't know where to look for it. I don't care because I'm not wearing your goddamn fucking mask.
Yeah, look, that's the other thing. It's different everywhere. So if you say to me, Scott, if you call me and go, holy shit, Aaron, we're on red, I have no idea what that means. Right. We might be on pink or purple or lavender or mauve. Who the fuck knows, right? And it may be the same as your orange or your red or New York's yellow. There is no, the feds did not come out and say, look, here's the deal. There's a nasty, nasty virus. And I had somebody get pissed off today because I called COVID a nasty virus. So for clarity, I also call HIV a nasty viruses.
What do you call it?
She was like, it's way worse than a nasty virus. It's a pandemic. A virus isn't a pandemic. The response to a virus is
the pandemic.
So we're comparing apples and tennis shoes, but that's okay. If that's what makes you comfortable, cool, do that. All viruses are nasty. Some of them are nastier than others, right? It's important that you remember what a virus's job is, because a virus only has one job. and it's to survive. That's
To
the job.
live. Just
So-
to
Well,
live.
at least the flu's gone away this year, so
Right.
we can all be
Right,
grateful
that-
that it's in
That's
hiding.
the thing that happens because the flu virus was like, oh, we'll just tag in COVID and sit this
Right.
one out.
COVID's got
it.
this
We'll
one.
sit this one
I
out.
hear it.
I
It's
tell
not
you,
how it works.
I tell
right?
you, I treat COVID like the crackhead at the Circle K. Like if I just don't make eye contact, it's gonna go away.
Well,
Right?
and look,
Like-
here's the way this works. So, like for an example, if I have a patient come in that has RSV, Hippovirus, rotavirus, and C. diff, we're going to treat the C. diff first.
Yeah.
All the focus is going to be on the C. diff because C. diff causes really nasty diarrhea and dehydration. And if you're in that state, I can't treat anything else. Doesn't mean everything else isn't there. It means the focus is currently the C. diff, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if that patient passes, right, it's going to be C. diff that we list because
That's what they were being
that's
treated
what we
for.
were focusing on, and that's what they were being treated
Not
for.
this year. That would be COVID right there. That's
Right,
COVID
and
symptom.
so that you know, a lot of people in hospitals, people who work in hospitals can tell you C. diff is the #1 cause of dehydration and diarrhea and vomiting in a hospital setting.
Mhm.
When we shift to nursing homes, it tends to be fungal stuff that sticks around and is drug resistant.
So if they're having those symptoms from the D thing that you just said,
Yeah.
wouldn't you just slap on a saline IV to get their fluids back to
No, because it's a virus that's causing you to exannuate these fluids, right? It's a virus that's causing you to dump this, and it's a virus that does
Causing you to
this.
purge.
And if you overload fluid, right, you can cause sometimes some other issues, diabetes insipidus. You can throw people's sodium off, you can throw their potassium off. You can, so
you get a hangover.
it just becomes a dance of treating the worst symptoms first, right? Until you can get somebody to a level baseline and then to go from there. So that's part of the other problem with COVID and people with comorbidities is which do we treat first? And it's different with every set of comorbidities. There's a whole lot of stuff with COVID that makes it really nasty. When I say nasty, I'm not diminishing the virus, right? Like all viruses can kill. That's their job is to kind of mutate until they find this happy medium space where they don't most of the time. It just depends on how accessible new hosts become to them.
Because they don't want to kill their host, they want to live. Right?
Well, and SARS viruses start as zoonoses, right? There are 36 SARS viruses. COVID is a SARS virus. It is not alone. It has a big family. Family gatherings must be really lit, right? They all behave in the same way to a very large extent. So when they first, what we were hearing was the first wave is here and the second wave is going to be worse. So for clarity, when they were saying that, we were already in the second wave.
Right.
What the government is talking about is the second wave. It's the third wave. And here's why. Because this is a disease that is a zoonosis, a disease that starts in one species and mutates itself to a point that it can now exist in another species. That's what a zoonosis is. So during that initial transfer phase, right, the virus is not super effective at infecting the new species hosts. And so people were sick and getting COVID, not showing any symptoms, not getting sick, because it just wasn't super effective at infecting people yet. Then it super mutated, because that's what they do, and became super effective at spreading and infecting, but it was killing off its host. So now we're going to see death rates pull back, right? And we're going to see spread rates increase. More people are going to test positive. It's going to spread faster, but fewer people are going to be dying as we continue. That's how it's going to go. Then it's going to mutate as soon as we get a vaccine out, just like the flu does, because they're cousins and they talk, right? It's going to start mutating to new strains. That's what's going to happen. That's why we have multiple different vaccinations for the flu. It's why sometimes we get the flu shot vaccination wrong here, because the U.S. likes to piggyback on Australia. Typically, if Australia gets, because their flu season's earlier, if they get an influenza A outbreak, now we know to vaccinate for influenza A because that's what's coming. Sometimes, though, we get hit with C instead. It's an
I think
imperfect
what's
science.
so frustrating, though, too, is, you know, as a business owner, again, at least our mayor here in Lincoln has never once sat down with the business owners and say, you know, how can we, here's the information we have, and here's business you run. What's the best way that we can continue to have you guys run a safe business, but be able to, you know, be a safe place for people to come? And that's never happened. And I can tell you that restaurants and bars are no less safe than Walmart, than any other place, but they're the ones that are getting picked on.
I would love to see
I feel safer at the dive bar than I do at Walmart.
I would love to see the restaurants and the bars start pushing back. Look, when people talk about there's an ordinance is not a law.
No,
it's not.
A mandate.
Mandates are not laws either.
No,
they're not laws.
But
And
are we now to the point?
mandates still don't get to violate your constitutional rights. If enough restaurant owners stood together and said, fuck you, we're not doing it. And if you bust us, and if you try and levy any fines or any jail time, we're going to fight this all the way to the Supreme Court. That's how it changes.
Which it's happening in Lincoln right now. The cops are showing up. The police are showing up. They're giving tickets.
Wow.
I have one friend that's had 20 different interactions with the police over the last couple months because he has not followed the curfew mandate. He's stayed open past curfew. So the police stop by. They have to document they were there. He doesn't get a fine every time, but he's now gotten at least over 5 different tickets. And the fine is $500 each.
Wow.
How does it work
Now-
in Lincoln for commercial zoning? So in where I'm at, right, as long as I have a storefront, I can live above the store, in the back of the store, whatever. I can still live on premise as long as I'm operating a commercial business from there. If that's the case in Lincoln, I would suggest that he turn a storeroom into his bedroom, and you just develop a secret knock for everybody who wants to come after curfew, right? So the sign says closed, and when the cops show up, you go, we live here.
Right. I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, it's
Everybody
kind of
signs a lease when they walk in the door and pay their
Maybe
$10.
we can call an attorney and get somebody who knows about mandates and see what can actually be done about this, because I'm super curious. Because feathers flying.
So I think that's where we're a little different, because up here in Omaha, they're not really enforcing the mandates. Like, I have not heard a lot of stories of cops going out. They're like, if cops are what's the word, dispatched,
right.
If they're dispatched to a location and they show up and people aren't wearing masks, then in that case, then they are citing people, but it's not crazy.
Are they though? Are they handing out tickets?
Well, that's the only time I've ever heard of anybody getting a ticket, is when cops were called for another reason.
And I've noticed when I go to Omaha and I go out, I would say it's probably like 50-50. I see people wearing masks, not wearing masks. Like, I've been to Top Golf in these places. You go out here in Lincoln and it's like 100% compliance. I am the only one ever not wearing a mask. And so
you're all alone. Keep up the good fight. Keep up the good fight.
I'm not sad about it. I'm looking at everyone else feeling sad for them. You know,
look, you guys, like, I wear my mask, and here's why I wear my mask. I wear a mask for work anyway. It doesn't bother me. I'm used to wearing them. It's not a huge inconvenience for me. I certainly always have them because I always have to have them for work anyway. And so it doesn't bug me to wear it, partially too, because when I'm out in work clothes or things that represent my company. And I certainly don't want people thinking that as a healthcare worker, especially in a healthcare setting, maybe we wouldn't do this. So it's about PR, and it's about respect for the community. It's about all of those things. But I'm 100% anti-mandate.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I'm all about, like, if they want to encourage us to wear masks, if they come out and they say, hey, it's probably beneficial to wear masks, and people choose to wear masks, by all means, wear your mask.
Look, realistically, it's beneficial for the other members of your community for you to wear a mask during flu season anyway, especially if you're sniffly, if you think it might be allergies. A lot of times that's flu. If you don't feel well, it's beneficial to wear a mask.
But my thing is,
for other
when
people.
I'm healthy.
But if you're healthy, I mean,
when have we forced people that are healthy to wear masks? This whole asymptomatic, and this is my opinion, and I've done my research, but asymptomatic means you're healthy.
Yeah.
And I'm not spreading anything. So I'm not going to like live in this lie and fictitious.
Well, and here's the other thing. Look, man, like we survived that. I remember when the pandemic was HIV.
Yeah.
And I remember early in the pandemic, right? When first it was gay cancer, then it was just any cancer. Then it only, it started in Fire Island. It goes everywhere. Then Ryan White gets sick. And then we didn't know. We didn't know if it was droplet contagious. We didn't know if it was contact. We didn't know.
There were no mask mandates. There were no lockdowns.
But there were no mandates.
Mm-hmm. And I have a lot of people that compare it to like the seatbelt law. You probably heard. And I'm like, guess what? I'm not for the seatbelt law either. Nope. I wear a seatbelt because I've seen the evidence that says if I'm in a car accident, I'm more likely to survive if I have a seatbelt on. It's not because it's the law. That's not why I buckle up. And I don't think that we should be mandating seatbelts in cars either. So when people throw that at me, I'm like, guess what?
I buckle up because it's the law. I buckle up because it's the law. I wouldn't wear a seatbelt.
Really?
Probably. Yeah, probably would not wear a
Really?
seatbelt.
Well, no, I feel like I'm gonna fall out if I'm not buckled up. I've been in enough car accidents. I'm good with the seatbelt. You don't got to tell me.
I grew up driving the farm truck out on the farm.
I did too.
Their life in their hands. That's their business.
I've rolled vehicles, so I absolutely want some kind of safety precaution. And
Sure.
I'm small, right? I'm 5'2". So an airbag, my airbag is not functional intentionally. Because if an airbag goes off, it will kill me. I will die. What? It will be an internal decapitation.
I'm like,
you have to look, if you're short, you need to really look at your airbag and where it heads the way that it comes up.
Yeah.
People our size die from internal decapitation from airbags.
I'm 5'2" as well, so I better look.
Somebody who's a little taller, somebody who's a little bigger, somebody who sits up a little higher, it's going to hit them in their chest. It's a little safer. Airbags are good things, but for a long time, airbags were illegal in this country because people were dying. Now we figured out that there are some people who airbags are dangerous for, but the majority of people they can be good for. It's why a lot of times in your passenger seat there's a weight sensor. If you don't trigger the weight sensor, the airbag doesn't come on. It's why, because if you're too small to trigger the weight sensor, that airbag will kill you.
Yeah.
Okay, so Janelle, I want to talk about what's going on in Lincoln with the recall of the mayor.
Yeah.
How is that going? How did that start? Tell me all about it.
Well, it really started, kind of a lot of this started when Matson's, I don't know if you followed that story, but Matson's Bowling and Billiards was getting harassed by the city because they were leaving when they came out with this mask mandate. They basically said, we allow our customers to make the choice to do what's best for them. So they were not forcing their customers to wear masks. Well, somebody tattled on them. The city came in and wrote them up and basically said, you will enforce the mask mandate, or basically we're going to shut you down. And so that's when kind of this whole ball got rolling. I mean, there was a lot of people before this who did not like our mayor. She's definitely not been very well loved in our community. But a bunch of us came together, I would say, quote unquote, patriots that want to support Matson's, and we started meeting there weekly. What can we do? And that's when this lawsuit against the city got started. That's still in the works. There's still a lawsuit against the city that many businesses have signed on to sue the city for basically trying to enforce these mandates that, there's no premise. Again, show us the evidence that there's even a pandemic. Show us the evidence of how you're choosing to determine that these mask mandates should be enforced or these lockdowns. What's the evidence that shows that these are actually preventing the spread of COVID in our community?
Even if you can show the evidence that they're working, that they're valuable, that they're whatever, show me the statute that authorizes you, that grants you the power to do what you're doing.
Right.
Because it doesn't exist.
Right. So that it's ongoing, and it's probably not going to actually go to court, I think, until March or April next year, and I don't exactly know why, but that's just what I've been told. But then from that, I started the Lincoln No Mask Facebook group. And it was simply a place where I was trying to encourage people to support small businesses, one, but two, places that were allowing for the medical exemption. So in the mandate, it says that if you can maintain 6 feet or you have a medical exemption, you don't need to wear a mask. And I think a lot of businesses have forgot that, because I actually do have a medical exemption. And I've gone to places and been refused, even though I have the medical exemption. And I'm like, actually, now you as a business are in violation of that mandate. Anyhow, so I started this group thinking I would maybe have a couple hundred people that were interested in wanting to know what businesses went, basically would allow for the exemption. Well, it grew to over 6,000 members. And, it just more and more people were wanting to know, what can we do? What can we do? What's the next step? And so a group of us started talking about recalling the mayor. And at first we thought, well, if we recall her, what if we get somebody worse than her? And then we were like, you know what? She needs to be held accountable. And if we get someone else in that's worse than her, then we'll recall them too.
Right.
Because somebody has got to start the process here to hold these elected officials accountable. And not only did we recall the mayor because, hey, we're in the process of recalling the mayor, we're going to recall the city council members who also have willfully gone along with this, not stood up to the mayor, and has allowed this craziness to continue. And so there were 4 city council members that we were recalling along with the mayor. Basically, the city council members who weren't up for election this spring were the ones who we were recalling. And basically what happened was we had a ton of support. We collected a ton of signatures, but we ended up coming up a little short. So we needed 22,000 signatures to recall the mayor. And we were about a couple thousand short of that. And then each of the city council members, we were a couple hundred short on signatures there. So disappointing.
Recall efforts like that are happening all over the place, and I hope that the fact that you were just a couple of thousand signatures short, I hope that sent a really strong message to that mayor and to those council members, because guess what, fuckers? You're coming up for election, and everybody who signed that recall, they're voting for whoever runs against you.
Yeah, and and the mayor called our group a small divisive group, and I'm like, this, if anything, this showed her it was not.
Our founding fathers were a small divisive group, and look at the shit they did.
Exactly. The way to try to minimize what you got, what you're doing and what you are.
So if 20,000 people picked off as small and divisive, then that's fine. But the fact is, they started a whole nother campaign, decline to sign. If we weren't that big of a threat, why would have you started a whole nother campaign? Why would have you got all of these figureheads in the community to come out and talk about, this is why I'm declining to sign? And they had, their Facebook page and all of this. And
good for you.
We weren't doing anything.
They're scared.
They wouldn't have been doing that. So we definitely, we're not going anywhere. This group of patriots, a lot of us had no clue who we were before this. Majority of us didn't know each other for, April of this year. And now there's a group of us that we're not going to let things just slide. We're going to continue to hold our elected officials accountable. And speaking about other communities recalling their mayor, Grand Island reached out to me, and I'm actually have a call with 2 people from Grand Island tomorrow morning about them starting the recall efforts there in Grand Island to recall their mayor over the same stuff. So
they did it in Norman, Oklahoma. They've done it here in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Recalls are happening all over the place. Janelle, I'm just going to put this out there, but somebody named Janelle should run for office for mayor against your current mayor. Think about it. You've already got the contacts. You've already got the platform. You've already done the work. If somebody from your group, people from your group should challenge every one of those seats.
Yeah.
And say you want to call us small and divisive. Let's see how it plays out at the polls. Let's see how
I'd love to see that.
I agree. I've had a lot of people say that. I do have one thing going against me. I'm not very politically correct, and I know that. So
You know what? You know, you're worried about being politically correct, and we've got a kitty sniffer as incoming president. We've got grab him by the pussy as outgoing president. Clearly, being politically correct doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
They're
When I look at someone like AOC get elected, I've always, thought, well, I'm not competent enough to do that. And now I'm like, holy crap, I'm way overqualified.
Lyndon Johnson used to flop his dick out in the middle of international diplomacy meetings. Just like drop it on the table and shit. So clearly, Lyndon Johnson. So clearly, being politically correct is not a prerequisite.
I feel like in 2020, it's changed a little, but I do think people are getting fed up with our politicians who've made a career out of it. If I serve, I don't want to make a career out of it. I simply want to serve the people and be a voice of common sense. Oh my gosh, that seems to be.
That's why I'm running for governor.
You pick a couple of things that really need to be done that are in your wheelhouse. And you serve long enough to see those things accomplished, and then you let somebody else come in and do it because somebody else has a different focus on the things that maybe don't matter to you but matter to other people. That's how it's meant to be.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the corruption, I think this year, if anything, I mean, a lot of us knew about it, but this year has only magnified and exposed the level of corruption from federal all the way down to our mayor's office.
Yeah.
And the only way we're going to combat that is if we get good people who aren't corrupt morally, who have a backbone, who are willing to do the right thing. And it's hard to put yourself out there because, I mean, gosh, just the little bit I've done, the type of threats that I get, it's insane. But what's the cost we're willing to sacrifice for our freedoms?
Right.
That's ultimately what's at stake is our freedom.
Look, there are some good things coming out of all of this, right? We talk about the suck so bad. Let's talk about some of the good things. We're seeing citizens like Janelle, like the other members in her group, saying, you know what? I've sat by and I've tried to be nice and I've tried to have conversations and I've tried to open dialogue, and fuck y'all. We're done with that shit, right? We've got a group of parents here in Stillwater that are suing to force our kids back into school, back into the classroom. And the school is going to cave and bring them back before the suit gets into court because they're afraid they're going to win. And the minute they put kids back in school, now there's no longer any merit, right? We're seeing citizens across the country band together, stand up, rise up, and say, fuck you. And it's happening over a million different subjects. But COVID, this is the underlying trigger, right? At some point, the feds are going to have to open their eyes and look around and look at what's going on. Federal government, state governments, municipal governments. This is the fucking straw that is breaking the camel's back. People are fed up. They are done. You've taken too much for too long, and we're not willing to give you any more.
Well, and how many people voted this year that didn't vote before? How many people have just started to pull the wool? I mean, I have so many people that go, Janelle, because I've been talking about this for a long time. But I've had some people say, oh my gosh, Janelle, you were right. Like, I thought you were kind of crazy tinfoil hat, which maybe I still am. But they're like, you're right. And people who were crazy left, who I thought would never even come to the center, are like, I can't support them anymore. They're this Democrat Party or the people, they're so corrupt. And they might not align with me on everything, but they're definitely like, I'm not supporting that anymore. I mean, they're awake to what's happening now. And I definitely think that's definitely a positive that's coming out of this year, even though there's been so much terrible stuff. I think people are finally starting to wake up to, what's
I hope
going
so.
on.
But my problem is I think some of them are starting to see it, but so many of them still buy 100% of the propaganda. Like,
oh, yeah.
And this mindset that it's a dichotomy, right?
Yeah.
That if you're anti-mask, you're anti-science, you're anti-human rights, you're anti-people. If you're pro-that, right? It's all of this shit. It's this dichotomy. And you know what? Extremists on both sides of this issue are wrong. Are ICUs overcrowded? Absolutely, they are.
Yep.
Sure. That's
But like we
factual.
were talking about before we went live, they are overcrowded because they are not large to begin with, and any influx will overcrowd them.
Right. They're overcrowded for a lot of reasons. Is COVID playing a role in that? Sure. But
Right.
ICUs are incredibly expensive to maintain. So hospitals only build ICUs that are large enough that they think they can fill at least 50% anyway.
Yep.
At this time of year, when RSV and flu and rotavirus and rhinovirus and hippovirus are all running crazy, we see a huge spike in pneumonias this year. This time of year, we also see a huge spike in suicide attempts.
Mhm.
Seasonal affective disorder, PTSD triggers, all of this shit. ICUs are typically 60 to 80% full this time of year anyway. So if you're in a rural community that has a 10-bed ICU, one car accident is going to overburden your ICU. Now you've got an overburdened ICU and you've got patients being flown to your rural hospital, your regional hospital, from an urban area hospital. Because look, in urban areas, everything spreads worse. Meningitis, hepatitis, syphilis, all of it. Because people are crammed in to smaller places with poor sanitation, fewer jobs, all higher crime, all kinds of shit. Yeah. So you know what? I had to put electrical tape on it because
Oh my
of
God.
the color of it. It
Oh
was
my
fucking
God.
up with my green screen, and my green screen was projecting onto my bong, which looked really weird. So it's electrical tape on my bong.
So Erin lives in a state where it's all legal. Like she's on the level, right?
Right.
So-
Well, I mean, it's not all legal. I'm legal. I guess not
You're
everybody.
following your protocol. You're
Following
following
my
the protocol.
protocol.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
South
following my
Dakota
protocol.
just legalized weed. I mean,
Yeah.
I would have never thought South Dakota.
Oh,
you know,
look, we thought we were going to be the last place in the country. A lot of
No,
this.
that's going to be Nebraska.
No,
You
it
know
will
what,
be
though?
Nebraska.
Look, when we talk about COVID mandates and other things like this, it very much is reminiscent to me of early post repeal of prohibition, right?
Yeah.
So like in Texas, you'd have a county that was a dry county. So if you cross the street, it's legal to drink, purchase alcohol, all that shit. So because you're on a county line. So you cross the street, buy alcohol at the liquor store. The minute you cross the street to take it back into your house, now you've committed a crime,
You're a
right?
criminal.
We're
Yeah.
also running into this stuff with these
Yeah.
ordinances and shit, right? It's the same thing with marijuana. It's ridiculous. Look, this is another attack. It's another form of sin tax. These fines for masks. Private businesses have the right to control who comes and goes into their business. If a private business, if Janelle and I open a boutique in downtown Lincoln and we decide you cannot come in our store to shop unless you're wearing a fucking bozo wig, guess what? Put on the wig or go somewhere else. Absolutely fine. But the government at any level has no right to come in and tell us that we must mandate that somebody wears clown shoes or angel wings if they can shop in our store. Period. Now, and everybody wants to bring up the no shoes, no service thing. That only applies in about half of the cases where it's used and presented anyway. And the way that the government gets around that is they cite health code, right?
That's a health code thing.
Codes because of food. Write a fucking health code to deal with COVID and then come talk to me. But currently, no such code exists. And you cannot enforce your made up regulation. You can't.
Done.
No.
Yep.
So Janelle, I was going to ask you, when you go into a business and you have the medical exemption, like you say, do you have paperwork for that? Do you show it or do you say it? Do you I don't think that's any of their business. That's a HIPAA violation, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is. Most of the time, I just say I'm unable to wear a mask, and they leave me alone. Other places, they maybe do harass me more, and they'll say, it doesn't matter, I need to wear a mask. And I say, well, I have a medical exemption. And I've only one time at one business had them say, well, I need to see it. And I said, I'm not going to show you because that's a HIPAA violation. And I end up not going into that business.
Okay, so here's where I'm going to piss you both off. It's not a HIPAA violation. HIPAA only applies to
Doctors.
healthcare workers. It does not apply to anybody else. HIPAA only applies to healthcare workers.
It's a medical privacy issue, though.
It absolutely is a medical privacy issue. And honestly, the case that I think protects you dealing with the medical privacy, y'all are going to love this. It's Roe v. Wade. Roe versus Wade was about privacy and the right to maintain medical anonymity. It was not about abortion. The law of the land in abortion is Casey versus Planned Parenthood. So any right-leaners that are watching that say, we need to repeal Roe v. Wade so we can end abortion, you're fucking idiots because it won't work. And what it will do, what it will do is give anybody and their brother access to your private medical information. That's what Roe v. Wade protects against.
Was the father trying to gain access? Is that what the deal was?
I'd have to pull it back up. Her parents, I think.
Okay.
I mean, the other side of it too that I've heard, and honestly, I don't know all the legalities of it, but the Americans for Disability Act, because I do have a doctor's exemption, if they are refusing me service based on a disability that I have, and if I can maintain 6 feet, which almost always I can, then
they are in violation of the ADA. They absolutely are. Right.
But like I said, most of the time it's like, if you don't want my business, you don't want my money, I'll go somewhere else. And that's what I do.
I am fine turning right around when they say you can't come in without a mask. All right, goodbye. I'll go spend my money somewhere else.
I want to live in the Libertopia where private businesses have the right to refuse anybody's service at any time for any reason. Because then we all know. Look, if you're a fucking bigot, be a bigot.
Right.
Cool.
And then I won't go there.
Tell all my friends we're going to boycott you. Your business is going to fail, and you're going to face consequences of your choices and your decisions. So I'm fine with that. That's the Libertopia I want to live in.
I agree.
You don't get to have it both ways, business owners. You don't get to say this is the law, this is whatever. You don't get to follow this law and ignore the ADA, which is also law. You don't get to follow this law and ignore the Supreme Court ruling on Roe v. Wade, which is also law. You don't get it both ways.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I agree. I think a private business should be able to decide who they want to serve, be able to refuse.
But they shouldn't be illegally and unethically coerced into it based on an unconstitutional ordinance or mandate.
Right. And there are some businesses here in town, and I know for a fact they will enforce the mask regardless of if you have an exemption. And I just don't even go there. They don't get my business. And you know what? There's a lot of people that love wearing the mask and will probably wear it in the shower and everywhere. And
I've seen people wearing it driving their car. They're in their car alone.
In their car by themselves. And to all these businesses that will force you, then great, do that. I just am not. I'm not going to do that. So
I'm not participating. I'm not complying.
And I'll tell you what else. Like when we talk about the efficiencies of masks, when we're talking about the spread of any virus, masks can be a really good thing and a really good way to kind of slow spread, but it's dependent on a lot of things. One is mask material, one is fit. Look, if somebody's wearing the same cloth mask every day and they're not washing it, be more concerned that they're going to spread Legionnaire's disease to you than
I'm
COVID.
disgusted every time I see somebody in a fucking cotton mask. Like, I know you haven't washed it. I know you stuck it in your pocket. It might have been on the floor of your car.
Wipe your nose with it. Yeah.
No, I see it all the time. People stick their hand in their pocket. They pull out this mask. And it's visibly dirty. And I'm like, I get that they say, well, you should change it every 8 hours and you should do this and you should store it in a baggie. Okay, but let's just be honest.
Most of the same thing about condoms.
Look, fit matters. It's very similar to condoms. You want a condom that are you going to trust a condom that some dude has had in their wallet for 2 years?
No. Not even
pulls out of a fucking baggie.
It's okay. I mean, no, there's an expiration date on everything, right? So there's that. Fit matters. People who are washing your masks, please, please, please stop putting fabric softener on them.
Yeah.
Because you're making them less effective.
Because you're opening up the gaps, right? Because you're softening the threads.
It fucks with the integrity of your mask.
Probably 99% of the masks people are wearing, they're not effective. Most of them are wearing a cotton mask or even those medical disposable masks. Those are stopping the virus particles you know, if you look at how small a virus particle is, this COVID virus or whatever.
You know how those don't fit around snugly, and virus particles are going out the side every which way. Like,
well, and the face shields too. Let's talk about the face shields. Face shields are great to protect you from splatter.
Yeah.
But
Splatter.
if you sneeze, all that vapor is going behind you.
Yeah.
To the unsuspecting person behind you, right? They're pretty decent at protecting you from splatter, from that kind of contact, but it's not.
There you go. There it is.
There we go.
See, yeah, just don't use the fabric softener. Maggie knows.
Oh, you guys
Oh,
can't
right.
see all the vape coming out every which direction.
Everywhere.
How about
Yeah.
the guys? How many people have you seen? Dre, you've got your mask. Now pull it down just under your nose so it only covers your mouth. How many of you seen that?
Yeah.
You guys have seen that, right?
When
But
I
it
go to
meets the
Costco, this is
requirement.
how I wear it.
But it meets the requirement. It's a face covering. It
Yep.
covers the part of the face.
Yup.
Well,
The
I
nice
have
stuff
guy
is the
come
people
up
wearing
to-
neck gaiters.
I've
Neck
argued-
gaiters. Neck
I've
gaiters are
argued-
less effective than no mask. Less effective than no mask.
Yep.
I've
And I've
argued
seen
that I have
people turn away
a
from
beard,
businesses.
and that's a face covering. I
I've
have a
seen
beard.
Yeah, how
people
does
turn
that
away
work
from
with the
businesses.
beard? When I see
It
guys have
doesn't.
to wear masks that have a beard, I'm just like, that can't be.
It doesn't.
Okay.
And look, it doesn't even meet food service safety protocol.
Mm-mm.
But I don't flip burgers for a living. It doesn't matter.
You can't make burgers wearing a mask with a beard that doesn't have a beard cover, that doesn't contain the
Yeah.
whole area
Beard net.
well.
Beard net.
Right.
They make beard nets.
Yeah,
They
beard.
do.
That's what you need to get is a beard net, and then I got a face covering. I'm good.
Yeah, and viral load is definitely something that matters. There's so many variables in this. For people to assume that it's a one size fits all shit is bullshit. Yeah, don't go on a cruise ship.
Face
Don't ever
covering.
get on an airplane.
For the
I love
record,
it.
it's a face covering.
You really need to do wear that into a store and
I have.
Look, here's the thing too. There are these things called anti-mask laws. Like, are you guys aware of anti-mask laws that were created? They're mostly, like most other laws, racially
cannot rob a bank.
right. They're racially incentivized, right? Because they didn't want
Places
young
that
men
sell
of
liquor.
color coming
Yeah.
in with their bandanas and shit.
If
You know,
it's a
just
retailer that sells
5
liquor,
years ago, look, 5 years ago, you couldn't wear gang colors anywhere, right?
right?
There were pool halls saying no colors being worn in here. Now we're telling everybody, get a bandana, tie around your face. It's okay. What happens if you're in an open carry state? I live in Oklahoma. Oklahoma is a constitutional carry state, open carry state. So what happens if I walk into, I don't know, a liquor store or a convenience store at 2:00 in the morning, and I happen to be African American, and I happen to be constitutionally open carry, and maybe I don't have a whole lot of extra budget for a really effective face mask, so I'm using my gang color bandana tied around my face. What are
I know
my
what
odds
happens.
of getting shot?
I know what happens. I've seen how this ends. Somebody calls the cops, and the cops come and shoot you in the face.
If
Or
you're
the back.
lucky enough,
Or the back.
for it to get to the cops, if you're lucky enough that the store owner wasn't robbed last week and isn't trigger happy,
Well, there's that too.
if you're lucky enough that there's not a half drunk, wife beaten, off duty cop in the back just itching to shoot at something different.
You're right.
I mean, that is a whole nother side of this that I don't think is getting talked about. I work part-time at a retail store here in Lincoln, clothing store, and there was a lady that came in one afternoon, and it was just me, and I had 3 customers, so I was kind of spread between the 3. And before I could get to her fitting room and she had left, I realized that, she had stolen a couple items. But I couldn't give the owner of the store a very good description of this person because she had a mask covering her face. And I work there enough that I know majority of our customers, if she wouldn't have had the mask on, I probably would have known if I'd seen her before. But I was like, well, she was about, 5'10", blonde hair, but with that face mask, it's like she could come back into that store again probably, and I wouldn't know.
Oh, yeah.
Look, the inner libertarian in me, my inner libertarian loves the idea of masks. I'm not gonna lie to you guys,
I
because
know.
if they fuck with facial recognition software.
Yeah.
I can cross the border in a wig and a mask and some sunglasses. Nobody even fucking knows it was me. Right?
Yep.
Like, my inner deviant hedonist is loving this shit out of this. I want to see fetishists, and I know you watch because you my people and we love each other. We're part of the same community. Start wearing your full latex hood. Wear the one
Love it.
with the hose vent. Wear that shit in and be like, my face is covered, right?
I wear my
Dominant.
gas mask that's attached to a bong. It's great. Yeah.
I know a lot. Gimps, you know you've got your masks ready. Just unzip it at the fucking checkout. Zip that shit back up. I mean, if they're gonna force you to do it and you feel forced to do it, then fucking have fun with that shit.
Yeah.
I'm putting this comic up here just because it says viral load. That's cool.
He said load.
Load.
Yeah, I mean, it can be bad, Carl. It can be
It
bad.
can be bad.
Isn't a cruise ship basically just a giant petri dish for disgustingness anytime?
Yeah, I
Yep.
wouldn't. So
So's a plane, though, and people fuck on them. So come on.
I'm pretty
Well,
sure
plane is
Disney's
a
going to
little
come out with a
different.
Star
You're
Wars
not
cruise.
living on it for a number of
I'm gonna
days.
have to go.
It's recirculated air.
Yeah. Did I tell you guys about the lady that wore a full body condom on the plane when I went to Florida a couple months ago?
Oh my God. I love that. If you're gonna do it, do it.
Okay, so
That would be a
Be a
good
good
band name.
man. Viral load. I love it.
So this chick's got this plastic parka on covering her entire, like almost down to her ankles, right? She's shorter than me. And she's got the hood on and she's got it like, so just this much of her face is showing, and she's got the mask on. And yeah, she thinks she's going to get off the plane before me, and she's sitting behind me and she's wearing a body condom. No.
No.
Dude, I recommend that travel attire to as a healthcare professional to anybody who's ever getting on a plane. Planes are full of nasty shit. They just
Yeah,
are.
like, I'm
Those
sorry,
cleaners
the
come
clothes
in.
that I wear on a plane always go right in a plastic bag and are not.
Yeah,
touched
like it's
because
just
it has
nastiness.
not. Like,
I haven't been on a plane in 10 years.
It's always been
Airports,
disgusting. Is my point,
dude.
though.
That seat you just sat in at the airport at the gate, some 90-year-old guy pissed himself there an hour ago and nobody cleaned it. It just kind of dried and you're now sitting in it, right? Some kid picked his nose and has wiped it all the way across the back of your seat. But the cleaners have 10 minutes to clean that plane. And they
If
walk
that.
it with
They
bags,
should have
get rid of
always
some
been
shit.
doing these things, is my point. They should have
Right.
always been spraying Lysol. They should have always been disinfecting. This is nothing new. The lady with the body condom, great, whatever, but
Well, and
Yeah,
my
but
thing
here's
is, here we are allowing people in this confined space with recirculated air, and that's fine, but don't go to a restaurant or a bar.
exactly.
Right.
Social distancing. Oh my
Right.
God.
Physical
Right.
distance. Sorry. On this show, we say physical distancing.
Physical. Yes, physical.
That's what it
It should be physical distancing. Social distancing is the
Words mean
worst
something.
term ever.
That's
The
true.
worst term ever. And I get they were trying to target social gatherings. Did you guys see the flyer that the government in Germany sent out that's saying if you're gonna have sex, do it doggy style? And it actually shows like the graphic man and woman from the bathroom signs engaged in doggy style sex, and it shows little lines coming out of his mouth where he's coughing, and
I
and
was
it's like
gonna
it's protecting her.
Wow. Because that's 6 feet, right?
That's
If you're gonna have sex,
Yes,
do it
with
this
your
way.
mask on. I've seen that. Like, that is just.
Yeah. Where were they doing that? Saying if you're going to have sex, do it with the mask on.
That was
God.
somewhere in Europe too. And here's the other thing. So we see health departments in different states and even some messaging from the federal government talking about, look, if you're single or if you're trying to date, try to find things that don't involve physically being in the same place. Mutual masturbation, Zoom video conferences, all this shit. They realize that messaging is also going out to our prepubescent and pubescent teens, right? The kids were saying, please stop sexting your buddies because that pic is going to be out there forever. Now we're suggesting that anybody who wants to maybe have sex who's single should do it via Zoom chat.
Can you?
Are you
I'm
fucking
sorry.
kidding me?
Am I weird? like you start chatting somebody on a dating site and you're like, all right, well, we've been chatting for a while. I guess let's no.
Let's mutually
Now look,
masturbate.
okay,
Yeah.
now wait. I'm not gonna lie and say I haven't had a situation where somebody that I met briefly at a coffee shop didn't call me and I didn't go, hey, want to hop off this call and get into a video chat? Because I did that and he was like, yeah. And then we get a little while into the video chat and I'm like, dude, I'm on my way over. Right? Yeah. I mean, it didn't end. Then I didn't end in the video chat.
Not like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but look, I'm not going to say that there wasn't some high level of nudity involved in that video chat. There absolutely was. I'm not going to get in my car at 2:00 in the morning for just anything.
Well, there was actual earlier this year when the COVID mandates came out and before, or like right when UNL started up, there was a big marketing campaign that the city funded that talked about how college kids like could still flirt with each other, but do it safely.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to send you some of this material. It's disturbing.
I guess the high point of it is you're less likely to get roofied over a Zoom call, I guess, than at a frat party. But what the fuck, man? Come on. Seriously, yeah. They're not
like how to flirt 6 feet apart. Right? I'm like, well, that was just like, I'm pro at that.
So, I mean, yeah, we're libertarians, right? So libertarians all have.
Like, I don't like people getting in my space anyway. So
how to flirt?
Stay out of my bubble.
Do you guys remember which? Oh fuck! Was it Airplane? Was it Airplane that had the full body condoms? Yeah, the movie Airplane dealt with full body condoms, right? And like I'm all for that, but they ought to be glow in the dark or something. Let's have.
That's funny.
Like, I mean, look, this is so fucking dystopian right now that I can't even get my head around it. This is everything that we read in all the sci-fi fantasy books forever. It's Margaret Atwood 101. We're shifting further and further and further into a reality that looks like The Handmaid's Tale, and that ought to fucking terrify everybody.
It would if it was actually warranted. Like if there was an actual plague that was super deadly, like if you got it, you're super gonna die or close to it.
So
but
look, if you,
I can't take it seriously.
And I'm
right. I'm waiting for the day that I wake up and this all goes away and we realize this was all bullshit and an overreaction.
So look,
what it's going to take is it's going to take alphas like us that are going to stand up and be like, hey, we're going to stop wearing masks. We're going to stop playing the game. Yep. We're going to go to our city council meetings. We're going to have our voice be heard. We're going to tell you when it's time to extend the mandate that you can fuck off with your mandates and look, you can't extend them anymore.
At the same time, there does come a level of responsibility that has to go with that. If you're even sneezing, if you think it's even allergies, put your fucking mask on, right?
Put your mask on. If you think you got COVID.
What you should have always been doing is get a giant neck and cover your fucking face.
Pull your sweater up, something, right? Wash your fucking hands, improve your hygiene, improve your diet.
This is what you should have always been doing, though. This is what you should have always been doing.
Yeah.
Right.
This is why I'm annoyed.
Maybe if we handle this right, if we start shifting the way that we're having some of these conversations so that they're actual conversations where people are both coming to the table from both sides in good faith instead of solely to shame the other side, so that we can actually start sharing some information and having these conversations, maybe we find a way to shift us into a healthier society overall. And that's an awesome thing. That would be a great thing. But this is not the fucking way, people.
No.
And look, when you say, well, you don't know if you're sick, so you should wear a mask. That is the same fucking justification that the left uses about guns all of the time. We don't know if somebody might become a spree killer, so we ought to make sure nobody can have guns. It's the same fucking justification. It's the same justification that the right uses when they want to target the mentally ill. We don't know who might be mentally ill, so everybody should give up some liberties and some rights. These are thought crimes. It's literally thought crimes. And this is an RNA virus, which means there's a DNA component that can be traced. If you can prove that that Dre, who refuses to wear a mask, was carrying COVID, transmitted the virus, and somebody died because of it, then you have a legal case on its own already for negligent homicide. You don't need the rest of this shit.
Well, I've been told, I've actually in my inbox gotten messages from people saying, because I don't wear a mask and I started a group to support people that don't wear masks, that I will have the blood of hundreds of people on my hands.
No, Dre didn't have COVID. Look, Dre didn't have COVID. Dre didn't have COVID. I want to clarify. Dre did not have COVID. That was hypothetical. Or did you?
I did have COVID, but
she did have COVID.
But she's
when I had
quarantined.
COVID, I quarantined my fucking self while I was actually ill.
Yeah.
Right.
Like when you have the flu, you're like, I feel like shit. I'm gonna stay home and watch reruns of Price is Right on my couch.
I saw an article today that they said that the whole asymptomatic transmission shit was bullshit.
They've been saying that for a really long time.
But I think this was the most legitimate source that I saw that they finally came out. But
the World Health Organization was saying it 5 months ago.
Nobody listens to those guys, though.
The WHO, people. Do not come to me and say, well, the CDC said, if the WHO said something different. Like, fuck out of here with that shit.
Or Facebook, you put this is what the WHO said. This is what CDC said, and they fact checked it wrong. Like, what? I'm like,
yeah.
Right, the World Health Organization got it wrong, but our CDC is right. Because somehow the fact that we were born on nationalistic American dirt makes us so much smarter and better than the rest of the fucking world. Grow the fuck up, you imperialistic dicks.
Right? It's nuts.
Like,
what it's going to take. I'm afraid it's really going to take loud voices like ours to really we need to step up. At least here in Nebraska, we have to stand up. We have to stand up and stop the mandates. We have to. I'm telling you right now, I am going to be on that city council meeting. I'm going to go to that meeting where they are going to discuss extending the mandate. January 24th, I've given them. I've said you've said it to January 24th. I will give you till January 24th. If you extend it beyond that point, I'm going to fight you tooth and nail. It's reached that point with me, and what it takes is more people like us. That it's like we've reached that boil over point where we have to step up and we have to say
we did not even see mandates like this during polio.
No.
During the polio outbreak, we did not see mandates like this. So all you people that are saying all that other shit wasn't a pandemic, suck my whole drawer full of dicks. Polio was absolutely a pandemic. And while we want to talk about vaccine safety, look, if you are 65 or over, absolutely, if a vaccine comes out, take the vaccine if that makes you happy. If you're not totally anti-vax, take the vaccine. You probably have nothing to lose. But if you are 30 or younger, let me caution you. We have no long-term studies about side effects from any of these vaccines. Zero long-term studies. Very similar to other cases we have seen in our past. Thalidomide being one that for years our government and the Canadian government said was safe to prescribe to pregnant women, but it caused birth defects like extra organs, extra limbs, extra eyes that led to death. Jesus. We don't know long term if this vaccine has any negative side effects or not.
Good for you. I'm not taking it.
Don't even get me started on the chain game.
I'm not taking this. I'm fine.
Right, the polio vaccine. Look, and I'm pro-vaccine. I am. I'm just going to come out with it. I'm pro-vaccine. I think the polio vaccine was one of the most important discoveries of my lifetime. Right, it was huge of our lifetime. It was. However, the Salk vaccine that contains a killed virus, a modified nucleus and a killed virus, it is the safest vaccine, right? For a long time in this country, it was illegal because one batch came out of the factory and the virus hadn't been appropriately killed, and it caused people to get polio, right? What we use instead now is a live vaccine. And in Canada, for a really long time, because they had adults who hadn't been vaccinated against polio, they were born in that kind of window where it didn't exist and where the vaccines were kind of up in the air. Now they're having children that are being given this live vaccine. They're changing their diapers, contracting and dying from fucking polio. It happens.
It's crazy.
I mean, the other thing that irritates the crap out of me right now is, okay, we have this vaccine, which I'm not taking, but they're saying even though we have the
I'm
vaccine,
not going to get it either.
We still need to wear masks. We still need
bullshit.
physical
Well,
distance.
look, let me tell you why.
They keep moving the goalposts.
Let's talk about why.
What is the
only way that makes sense? Look, the only way that makes sense, right? And I can give you a medical situation where that would make sense. If it's a live virus that they're injecting you with, you can throw off live virus for a little while. It's a really small dose of a modified live virus, right? And you can throw that off and infect other people. But what they're saying is this isn't a live virus. So either it's a live virus and you're being lied to, or this other information is a lie. Either way, it's not a good situation.
They say, well, we need to wait until everyone's vaccinated. Well, I'm not getting vaccinated, and I know a ton of people that aren't getting vaccinated. So where does that leave us? We're just going to wear masks forever?
Nope.
Yeah, no, fuck that.
Yeah.
I haven't worn them.
They got till January 24th to get their shit together.
So, because I want to, Scott, after this, I want to circle back after the broadcast with you about city council meetings. But one of the city mandates or whatever about the mask was if you don't have to wear a mask if you're seeking governmental services. So I have never worn one in the post offices. But when I went to the courthouse with something I really can't discuss.
That's true.
They were like, you have to have a mask on.
I would have made them provided. I'm indigent.
And I'm like, whoa. And the person I was with is really weird about it. So I didn't make a scene. I just put the mask on like I normally do, like down here, and I pull it away from my face so that I can breathe. But
well, you know what's happening at pageants all across the country, right? Let me get this piece of paper in my mask. So this is my mask. So if I'm in a beauty pageant, all I have to do is hold the mask out here. I don't want to fuck up my makeup, right?
Right.
Is that really what they're doing?
That's really what they're doing.
Oh my God.
You guys, we saw it at our convention. Our convention in Orlando, there was a pageant in the same hotel. That's absolutely what they're doing.
I mean, it's the same thing too. I watch, playing football on the field, NFL, college, whatever. Then they go to the sideline. They have to put on a mask, and I'm like,
you know how many fluid?
There's no reasoning behind it. There's no.
So look, I didn't play football. I never grew up playing football. I've watched a lot of football. I have some opinions about this specific situation, but I did grow up playing basketball, field hockey, and soccer, right? Coached soccer for a long, long time. As you're body checking someone, man, spit and sweat is going everywhere. That fabric, I've had people brush up against me on the fucking pitch. I promise you that jersey did not stop all their sweat from you could feel that it was like getting a shower. It happens. It happens. And when I come off the field, even if I was wearing a mask and a helmet on the field, right? Same thing on airports and all that kind of shit. When I walk off and I'm taking my shirt off and I'm getting ready to get in the shower, maybe I'm putting soap on my hands. Maybe I thoroughly wash my hands. Maybe there's still areas that haven't been washed and I'm wiping water out of my eyes. And guess what? Same thing with any other virus. It's nasty. Look, there's this stuff they use in nursing school, in med school, in CNA school, because you literally have to take a class on proper hand washing, on how to scrub in, right? There's a whole class on it. And they have you rub this shit all over your hands, and it's fish-based. And I'm saying that to you because anybody who had a shellfish allergy or a fish allergy, they wouldn't put it on their hands. They just got to sit and watch everybody else. So you rub this shit all over your hands. You rub it in really good, and then they hit you with the black light, and your hands glow from this phosphorescent shit, this luminescent shit that is fish-based. And then they have you go in and wash your hands. Scrub up. Like you're scrubbing in for a procedure, right? And then they hit it with the light again. So it could be like, hey, how thorough was your hand washing technique? Let's go over the technique again until you can eliminate most of it. I've never in my life seen anybody eliminate all of it. Never in my life.
There was also, and I forget what school it was, but it was they had a wrestling match, and so kids were wrestling, but because of COVID, they weren't supposed to shake hands after the match.
Right.
Oh my God!
But they can roll around. They can roll around on that mat together. Yeah.
Except for the hand.
Right.
Yeah.
Holy crap, man. Well, we've broached the hour mark, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies,
I think it's time to call it.
And we didn't even get to talk about my most exciting topic that I wanted to talk about tonight, which was guns. So yeah, but we'll have to bring Janelle next time. We'll have to bring you on. We'll talk about
let's talk about guns.
I love talking about guns.
Awesome.
I know.
You know what? Maybe you guys could do I probably wouldn't be able to be there, but maybe the three of you, maybe Caleb would step in, or Kent. You could do a live show from the range. Actually show some different models, show their accuracy, their efficiency. It would be badass.
Yeah, it's good times. We should probably do that.
And if it's not accurate, it's not me. It's definitely the gun.
It's the
site. That's right. Always the gun.
Always sighted in right.
Always.
Exactly.
Well,
and we rented all of these guns. We don't own any of them. We lost all of those voting.
I rent every time I go. I don't know.
I rent every time I go too, and it's never my fault. It's always Mother Nature, right?
That's
because
right.
You guys felt that huge wind blast, right?
That's right. I treat it like bowling shoes at the bowling alley. I just rent at the lanes. So, anyway, Janelle, thanks for hanging out tonight, you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
Good night.